The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, my name is Foy Maynor and I'll be your host and presenter for today's webinar to look at how Paramount Workplace integrates to Sage Intacct for purchasing and procurement functionality. So I'm going to walk through some introductory slides for Paramount as well as the different key benefits that we're going to be talking about. Then we'll spend a little bit of time actually looking at the product itself to highlight what I talk about during the presentation, and then at the end we'll leave some time for questions. This webinar is being recorded, so the link will be made available after the webinar if you'd like to share that with anybody or watch it again. This is a high-level overview. If you need a more in-depth dive to the functionality that Workplace offers, please feel free to reach out to us and we're more than happy to conduct those presentations as well. I did include a handout within the webinar, which is essentially the Sage Intacct brochure that's available also on our website. And if you have any questions, please feel free to enter those into the questions window. I'll take a look at that at the very end and answer the questions at that time. So at this point, you should be seeing a PowerPoint slide with a Paramount Workplace logo and manage spend before it starts. So Paramount's been in business since 1995. So for more than 24 years, we've done spend management solutions. Specifically today, we're going to focus on the requisition and procurement solutions that we offer integrated to Sage Intacct. Our headquarters is in metropolitan Detroit, and we have remote offices around the US as well as Canada. Our support, our development, our quality assurance, and much of our administration functionalities are located in our corporate headquarters. I myself am just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. I'm actually the VP of Sales with Paramount Workplace, and then we have some other sales as well as channel people spread out again around the US and Canada. We are a worldwide organization. We do business around the world through resellers and with customers, and we do offer more than just the requisition and procurement solutions, as you can see noted on this particular slide, but we can talk about those at another date and another time, as today we will focus on the mobile and web-based cloud solutions that we offer for requisition and procurement. We've got more than 131,000 users worldwide, as I mentioned. Our solution can run standalone, but primarily we are integrated to the back office financial and ERP systems with the solution because there are many benefits to the integration that can be offered. As it relates to Sage Intacct, we do offer software as a service or cloud-based solution. Other ERPs may be hosted or also offered on-premise. So if there are any questions about other deployment options, we can certainly cover those at a later time as well. But I do want you to note the flexibility of how the solution can be deployed. And ultimately, we're trying to make it easy for employees to enter the information. That's key for the adoption of a procurement solution. Effective for management to be able to have visibility to what it is that they need to see and or approve, and then make it very powerful for accounting to have the visibility into the entire process from the time that it started at the requisition. Now, we do work across many different industries. This is truly a horizontal application, but we've seen success in primarily 14 different industries. If you're not in one of these industries or you work with one not listed here, certainly does not mean that you can't make use of our solution. But these are some of the key industries. We do very well in nonprofit organizations, utilities, government, municipalities, those type, as well as some others that you see here. And again, we can get into more details about the individual benefits for those different organizations and those different industries as needed, but those are some key ones, and then these are some key customers that may be recognizable across those industries as well. All right, so we do offer seamless out-of-the-box integration to Sage Intacct. For organizations that have a worldwide presence, we do offer multiple currencies as well as multiple languages. We primarily do one release per year based upon the user feedback we get, as well as wish list, and also industry knowledge, industry organizations that we look at and review in order to make sure that the latest and greatest functionality is available. It is a web-based solution. It can be accessed anytime, anywhere via browsers, Safari, Chrome, Firefox, as well as Internet Explorer, as well as on multiple devices. we also do offer a mobile app that we'll take a quick look at today. And because of the access that we offer, there are many different authentication modes to make sure that the information is secure. All right, so with that, let's talk about some of the key benefits offered with the e-procurement solution from within Paramount Workplace as it relates to Sage Intacct. I've been with Paramount for a little over 17 and a half years, and I've seen the development of the industry of the different ERPs. And I can tell you that many of the ERPs that have come along, as well as ones that we worked with years ago, have become much stronger in their purchasing and procurement solutions that they offer within the application. So there's certainly a challenge as we talk to prospects and customers in order to be able to look at, where is the differentiation when you start looking at the Paramount Workplace solution. And one of the biggest areas is catalogs. And there's a couple of types of catalogs. There's guided buying catalogs, which are internal to the organization. And that means that the organization is responsible for setting up and maintaining those catalogs on their own. You can get a download from the vendor. You can manually create the catalogs via the templates that are provided. And then you can offer those catalogs to users based upon security. Now, the benefit of internal guided buying catalogs is that they can have whatever items you want to have on them. So they could be by vendor, they could be like by location, they could be by type of item, they could be by department. However you want to break out those catalogs is up to you to have those items on there. And then you can shop across multiple catalogs in order to be able to create a requisition. And you can have the catalog experience, the shopping experience with the shopping cart, be what actually generates the requisition and then submits it for approval. So again, this is a big area of making it easy for the user to enter the request with pictures and descriptions and pricings of the items before that requisition is created. PunchOut is also a type of catalog. Now, PunchOut is where you go out to a vendor's website. The vendor maintains the catalog for you as their customer, your pricing, your items that you've negotiated with the vendor to be made available. From a user's perspective, they're simply selecting that catalog that they want to shop. They're going out to a very familiar experience that they typically use in their day-to-day lives when they shop in their personal environments. And then they're able to generate a shopping cart, and then from that shopping cart, create a requisition. Big difference here is that once they check out, the order is not complete with that vendor. It won't be complete until the requisition is fully approved and then a purchase order is created. So PunchOut, again, is a different type of catalog. With the PunchOut catalog, the vendor creates and maintains it for you, but you still get to leverage the overall shopping cart experience in order to be able to create those requisitions. So those are two key areas as we look at the functionality within Workplace. And then when you extend that functionality out to the mobile device via a mobile app, and you allow the user to create requisitions from those internal guided buying catalogs from the mobile app, and then either process the shopping cart to create the requisition or save that shopping cart for later. You can also manually enter items via the mobile app as well in order to be able to create those requisitions. And then the mobile app also provides you with approval capabilities, so you can approve or disapprove via the mobile app, and then also provides you with the history of those transactions. So now you're taking those catalogs that we talked about earlier, the common user experience that they use in their day-to-day lives with catalogs, and you're extending that out to the mobile device via the app that's available for both Apple and Android devices to extend the functionality there, make it easier for the initial user to enter the requisition, and also make it easier for the approvers to continue approving and moving items through the process. And approvals. Approvals are very key as we talk about spend management. And as I mentioned earlier, there are many ERP solutions here getting much better with the approval processes that they offer internally within the application. But some of the key areas that we find as we talk about approvals that are benefits or maybe even differentiators is the unlimited levels of approval, the unlimited approval paths. So not only can you approve by the header information of the requisition, you can also approve by the line item information. So it's actually possible that each line could go to a different approver or through a different approval path based upon the department. It could go to the department manager. Based upon it being an IT item, it could go to somebody in IT. Based upon it being over a certain dollar amount, it could go to the controller or to the CFO. So you can have as many approvers as you need at the line level based upon the information that's been entered. And then from the approval standpoint, give the user visibility to where the transaction is in the process so that they always know who it's pending approval from and where it is. Allow the approver to approve via email after they get their email notification. Allow alternates to approve while somebody's out of the office, either for a meeting or on vacation. Provide ad hoc approvals, so you can add somebody to the approval process if you want somebody else to be able to take a look. Remind the users about anything that hasn't been approved after a certain period of time. Bypass levels of approval after a certain period of time. And again, make it easy to approve and keep those items moving through the process. So in addition to catalogs, approvals is a very key area as we talk about what's available within the requisition and procurement application. So some of those key benefits, just as a quick recap, are the guided buying catalogs, internal catalogs that can be created and maintained by the customer, PunchOut catalogs that are maintained by the vendor but still provide a unique shopping cart experience with your items and your pricing, approvals, and then also dimension support. We do support the Sage Intacct dimensions so that as you enter the requisition, you can also use the dimensions that have been set up over in Sage Intacct as a part of the overall requisition process. And then all of that information can be found on our Intacct page via our website. So with that, let me get out of this here, go to my login screen, and let's take a quick look at some of the things that we just talked about actually within the application. So I'm going to log in as Foy. Foy is a requester that has those catalogs that we talked about. So there's our internal guided buying catalogs, and then here's our PunchOut catalogs. Here's the visibility to the transactions that I mentioned so that you can see where your transactions are within the process. You can see a name of the transaction, a status. If different lines have different statuses, remember the different lines being able to go through different approval paths, you'll be able to see that, and then the ability to drill down and see additional information and details for each of those requests. And then also metrics, which are graphical representations of data to be able to have access, and again, additional visibility. But let's come over here and start with the catalogs. Again, the catalogs can be restricted by user, so you're only going to have access to the catalogs that you need to be able to have access to. And when you select a catalog, you're going to be able to see pictures and descriptions and pricing for those items. You can click on an item to view additional information and additional details, and you can add items to your cart. So you can build your cart from that catalog. You could also shop additional catalogs that you may have access to, select additional items, add those to your cart, and then when you're done building your cart, review the items, update or remove anything, and then click on Create Order Requisition, and that will now create a requisition within the workplace application and submit that requisition for approval. You've also got the ability to do PunchOut. Now, PunchOut, as I mentioned, the vendor maintains for you as their customer. PunchOut is very popular with office supply vendors in the medical or healthcare industry. It's also very popular there as well. And then now also with Amazon Business. So this is going to be a common experience that the users are used to. So when I click on Amazon, it's going to go out to the Amazon site. So when it goes out to the Amazon site, this is the site for me as their customer. I'm going to be able to shop just like I would as if I were at home. I'm going to be able to pick items off of the site. I can use my different options. I can search for and find. I'm going to be able to add those items to my cart and build my cart. And then once I'm done, I'm going to be able to submit these items for approval. So normally where that would say checkout, and you would then ultimately pay. Once you submit those items for approval, it will now create a requisition with that item or items on it. That's now a requisition within the workplace application. And then once the requisition is there, it can then be submitted and route for approval. As a reminder, that order is not complete yet. It will not be complete until a purchase order is created. And once the purchase order is created, it'll be submitted electronically to the vendor. That will complete the transaction, and then they will ship you those items. All right, so let's come back to our dashboard here. Let's go to a previous requisition that I did, just so I've got some multiple line items on that. And I want to point out a few other things here. We obviously used the catalogs to create the requisition before. Those will go for approval. You can see that you can have multiple items on a requisition. The different items can be from different vendors. The different items can also have the appropriate dimensions that are available within Sage Intacct as a part of them. You've also got attachments. You can have attachments at the header level. You can have attachments at the line level, unlimited attachments at each place, and you can have an inline attachment view to be able to see that there. So these attachments can provide additional information and additional details as a part of the requisition as it ultimately flows through the process. So again, this is just be an example of a requisition that's got multiple line items on it. It still needs to flow for approval, and once you submit that requisition, it will then route for approval, and you'll be able to see those details here. So here's a requisition that I've already submitted earlier. This requisition has different lines on it that have different statuses. You can see an icon here. If you hover over the icon, it'll let you know what's happened with that particular line. Has it been disapproved? Was a PO generated for that? Has it been approved and waiting creation of a PO? Or is it waiting for approval for someone? And you're able to have those different details there. You can also always highlight a line, and when you highlight a line, you can view the details, and the details will show you the approval process. So you can see that this one was submitted, approved. There were changes that were made that were recorded, and it was ultimately disapproved with notes. So you're able to see the actual approval process, see where that transaction needs to go and where that transaction has been. And again, that's all a part of the visibility that we talked about before. All right, so let's come back to our dashboard here. I'm going to pop up an email. There's an email notification that goes out. The email notification goes out letting you know that you have requisitions that are pending your approval. If you have attachments, the attachments can be a part of that as well. There are links in the email. Click on the link in the email, and it'll allow you to go into the workplace application to approve or disapprove those transactions. You can also reply to this message. Back in the PowerPoint, I talked about the ease of approval and keeping items moving through the process. Well, by replying, you can then use the brackets that are in the email. If you put a Y in the bracket, you're going to approve. If you put an N in the bracket, you'll disapprove. And you can also do that at the line level. So I can approve the first line there. I can disapprove the second line. And I can also enter notes to the requester, and those will go in an email and also appear on the log. So I can get the email notification, I can view the attachments, I can view the details, and then I can reply and approve or disapprove without needing to log into the workplace application. I also have the ability to do those actions via the mobile app. So if I come here to my mobile app, you'll see I've got some internal catalogs. I can click on the catalog, I can see the items, I can view more details about the items, and I can add those items to my cart and build my cart. Just like before, I can shop multiple catalogs. I can add items to my cart from those other catalogs. And then at this point, you can either have this catalog be saved and maintained over in the browser, and I can act on it later. Or I also have the ability to view my cart, update or remove any items, and create a requisition from the mobile app as well. So that gives you the power and the capability anywhere, anytime to create requisitions and also approve those requisitions. We click on approval. You can go in and see the requisitions that you have pending your approval. You're able to see the items, the attachments, and then you can approve or disapprove with notes to the requester from the mobile app as well. So again, extending that flexibility of the catalogs as well as the approvals out to the mobile app also enhance the purchasing and the buying process. Now, there's quite a few other steps that, it's only a couple other steps actually that need to be done in order for this to be fully processed and ultimately go over into Sage Intacct. In the time that I've allotted for today's webinar, I'm not going to cover those. Those are the actual purchase order creation, the receiving, as well as the invoice matching. But what I will show you is I'll go over here to Sage Intacct. I'll go grab a transaction that I did before, and you'll be able to see that those transactions from within the workplace application do flow over with the information from there, including any dimensions that were a part of that. And you also have the ability via the link here within Sage Intacct to come back out and go into that transaction. So you'd be able to view that particular transaction. Whoop, I apologize for that. I think I got myself double logged in here. You'd be able to view that transaction, and then you'd be able to see any of the attachments there as well. So I apologize for that not working, but we can always take a look at that later if needed. So again, there's that transaction over in Sage Intacct. I want to show you a couple of things here at the very end before we move on. Here's the website with the Sage Intacct integration page. So I want you to be able to see and know where that is with some of the key points that we've covered, as well as some additional ones as a part of that integration. You've also got the download of the PDF of the brochure that you can do, in addition to it being attached here. You can have that. And then also, one of the things that may help out is under Explore, Calculate Return on Investment. There is a procure to pay calculator that we've made available so that you can see the actual savings. And this is very simple and easy to fill out. You know, what is your current state as far as automation of the process? We provide some industry average salaries, but if your salaries are different, you can have those. We provide industry levels of approvals. Again, those can be changed as well. And then you just enter the additional information that it's asking for. Obviously provide those details as relates to your organization, and then click on submit, and then that will do the calculation of the savings that you can see with an automated procurement solution. And as you can see here, they can be pretty significant with what is it costing you currently, what would it cost you with automation, and then you've also got the ability to go in and make some changes and then view that again later. So certainly to use that as a tool within your organization or within your prospects or customers' organization to get a little bit more information and details. And with that, I'll flip back over to the PowerPoint slide here. Certainly, if you need to reach us, there's a phone number. There's also my email address where you can email me directly. There's a link to that procure to pay calculator that we just looked at if you need to be able to find that. And then that ends our presentation. I'm going to go take a look and see if there's any questions that have been entered as we've walked through, or I'll also give everybody a few minutes to enter any questions now as well. So give me just 1 second and let me go look at those. All right, so one question here is the purchase order created within Sage Intacct? So at this point, the purchase order, and I know we didn't walk through that particular process, is created within the workplace application. We are a full procurement solution. So you do the requisition, the purchase order, the receiving, as well as the invoice matching, all within the workplace application with the visibility throughout. And then once the invoice matching process is complete and approved, then it goes over as the bill over into Sage Intacct. If you do have circumstances where you want us to look at doing rec to PO, meaning that we do the requisition in Workplace, create the PO in Sage Intacct, we certainly can. We have done that with other financial systems and ERPs where that makes sense, as well as where that adds value. But today, when we do create a PO, that PO is created in Workplace. You can automatically email it to the vendor as soon as it's created. If it's a punch-out purchase order, it'll be sent electronically to the vendor. It's created, and then you've also got the ability to view and print a PDF as needed in order to be able to send that out. All right, I don't see any other questions at this time, so I'll leave the webinar open for just a moment here. I do appreciate everybody's time. Certainly feel free to reach out if there's any other questions, or if you want me to walk through essentially a day in the life of a requisition from the start to finish. But today's goal was to kind of show you some of the key benefits of what Workplace offers when it's integrated to Sage Intacct above and beyond the standard purchasing functionality. Again, thank you very much for your time today.